Hi everyone. I'm back here in Bantam, Connecticut at Guy Wolff Pottery. We've been making red pots all week. For the last couple years, have been mainly making pots with Guy with white clay. And recently I asked him if I could switch over to red clay to make pots, just to practice making red pots. And I thought it would also be a very nice thing to put into my online sale, which the next one happens tomorrow, June 29th, Sunday, June 29th at noon Eastern Standard Time at rajivsurendra.com. The site is currently password protected. It's just closed while we're uploading stuff, but at noon tomorrow, the password will be lifted. The internet doors will be open and people can go in and shop. But for those of you who have no interest in purchasing anything, I did also want to make this video just to talk about the things that are in tomorrow's sale from a creative perspective, and share this point in my journey with all the stuff that I'm making. So the red pots that Guy makes are, to me, the real link to the historic flower pots that drew me to meeting Guy and coming here 16 years ago. Guy is always referencing flower pots from the past, 19th, 18th, 17th century shapes and forms. And what I have been making all week are these. So this shape is called the full pot. It is the ubiquitous standard flower pot, and Guy talks about this being the shape and the form that really was created in the early 1800s by the Royal Horticultural Society in England to kind of standardize flower pots to be used in greenhouses. When glass became cheaper to produce and greenhouses became more common, the use and economy of flower pots became a big thing. So this pot is the plainest flower pot. It's kind of the plainest flower pot that's in the shop. But I think that this is actually the most beautiful shape because of its simplicity. There are a lot of pots that Guy has made over the years, a lot of pots that I have been learning how to make, where there's ornamentation, usually on the rim. There's some kind of ornamentation. And with that comes this added beauty. But with this pot, because the rim is so simple, there's no hiding place.
There's no hiding place down here. There's no hiding place down here.
That's the only way that I can see this and put it. There's no hiding place to hide the lack of beauty. The way that this pot becomes beautiful is in the proportions of the whole pot, the proportions of the size of the base to the size of the opening to the size of the height and this rim, but on a much more subtle note, the line of this slight flaring upwards. This has been, for me, to learn how to make this beautifully has been really, really hard. I've been coming here for 16 years, and off and on I have attempted this shape, and it's something that I think I will continue to work on for the rest of my life. Over the years of coming here, my focus has shifted from one thing to another as I've learned more and more and more. When I first started coming here, it was really, the focus was on making a pot, like making the pot in the shape that Guy was making it. And as my skill progressed, I started focusing on other things, like the balance of the pot when you pick it up. One of the things that a novice doesn't really realize is that the bottoms of pots made by young potters are usually very heavy because the clay is often not distributed evenly through the floor and the walls of the pots. For young early potters starting out, usually the top might be thin, but there's all this clay down here, and sometimes they'll just trim away all that clay afterwards. But in the industry, in the pottery industry, even going back hundreds of years, these utilitarian wares were made by skilled hands to be used, and the clay had to be thrown quickly, effectively, and evenly. No trimming away of excessive clay. So one of the things I've focused on over the years, the shape might have been there early on, but the distribution of clay is a big thing, so that when you pick up this pot, like you just pick it up by the rim, it feels balanced. So that's one thing. And I would like to share that in the last couple of years, there's something I've been focusing on that you as the audience will probably never see unless I show it to you. And that's this, the stacking of the pots. So because these pots are made quickly to be used, they're not glazed, they're flower pots. The economy in firing these pots historically was that they stacked perfectly. And there's some wonderful footage of flower pots being made in England in the 1950s, where they show these pots being made so quickly and then stacked in the kiln, and after they're fired, the pots being moved. And in order for the pots to be stacked like this and moved around effectively, the shape is so important. And not just the shape of the outside, but the shape on the inside. The shape on the inside is crucial to being able to stack these pots. And that is something that has been really hard to learn. As I said, this is like a cumulative thing. You learn one thing and it sort of slowly grows. But in the last couple of years, I've been asking Guy, and he's been talking to me about how to make this happen. So when this is done properly, the space between these rims is minimal, it's very small, and it's completely even. Like in that footage from the 50s, you'll see the stacks are beautiful because it's just like a pattern, and all the pots are exactly the same. But if you look at this stack, you can see that some of the spaces are large and some of the spaces are small, and that's because the pots are not exactly the same, and the shape of the inside of the pot varies from pot to pot, which is also why something like this wobble is created. But this is a lot better than what I was doing 3-4 years ago. So it is something that I have been really thinking about and focusing on when I've been throwing pots. It also enables the pots to be carried and moved. Like, look at this. They support each other. And this, to me, I'm smiling like a kid, because this is what I have observed Guy and Erica doing, especially seeing it really anew for the last few years, where they make pots and their pots are more or less all the same. And when Erica or Guy are carrying around pots, they're carrying them around in stacks. And I get this feeling of kind of like Gollum, like, ooh, I want those. What am I going to do? It doesn't make any sense, because what am I going to do with stacks of flower pots? I don't know. But like, I don't have a greenhouse or a garden even. But I just think that the functional aspect of these pots that make its way into the shape and the form of the flower pots have revealed a beauty to me that I really love and appreciate. I love this so much. And before these pots get sold and you see them individually online and maybe purchase one individually, I did want to show you this thing that you might never see of the flower pots stacking. Seeing my flower pots in stacks has been a great source of pride in the last couple of years. As the stacks get better and better, as I'm working on it, as it becomes a more important goal of mine to really get it right. This stick right here, Guy made this device. This throwing stick is actually used to make the pots uniform. So the reason why this is here is because I've been using it all week. You throw the pot, you find the height and the width of that you think is correct, and then you set the stick. Like, I'm not going to do it right now, but you adjust the stick and you set it to be very close to the very edge, the outer edge of the pot. And this swivels, so it swivels out of the way. But what this does is once that stick is set, then the next pot that I throw, I know that I have to throw it high enough and wide enough for it to be just there at that point. And that is a huge, this is the tool that enables these pots to get to the exact size and shape that you're after. It's the regulator. Achieving that, though, requires skill. It doesn't just happen. So the stick is kind of my, it's a tool that is my guide that I'm aiming to reach the stick. So something like this, like making these red flower pots and focusing on those tiny details that are actually so important, are part of this whole practice. I'm coming here mainly to learn. Well, I'm coming here really solely to learn how to make something beautiful. It's been kind of a lifelong goal of mine with everything that I do, pottery, painting. And the wonderful thing about having my online shop is that these pieces that I just, you know, in order to get better, you just have to keep making them, keep working on it, keep thinking about it, keep tweaking your technique to make it sharper and sharper, is that these can go out into the world to people that want them. So thank you. If you purchase one of my flower pots in tomorrow's sale, thank you. So those are the flower pots. This is the number 2 size, which is the small size. There will be 2 means this was 2 pounds of wet clay that was weighed on the scale over there before being thrown on the wheel. The number 4 pot, which is larger, is 4 pounds of wet clay. And then the 6-pound pots that I made are the largest size that will be offered in tomorrow's sale. All the simple shape called a full pot. So those are the pots. I did make another batch of soap, my Wise Man soap, which is a labor of love. So the soap is my goat's milk soap. And this, if you purchase the soap, this is how it will arrive. I wrap every individual bar of soap with my glassine label. And then after it's wrapped in the glassine label that has the text on it, I wrap everything up in brown paper with twine and a wax seal. And this brown paper has not been taped. There's no tape in here. I follow my preferred method of wrapping something using no tape and using the string to actually tie this up. So if you purchase the soap and you're giving it to someone as a gift and you're there when they're opening it up, tell them to just untie this bow like this. Okay. And when this comes off, the seal holds it in place, and then they can simply just unfold this, and there is the wrapped bar of soap on the inside with glassine paper. The ingredients are on the back. So that's how the soap should be unwrapped. Details. If you're using this soap, do not leave it in a soap dish with water in the soap dish. Have a strainer in the soap dish, or even better, drain out the soap dish and just put this aside for it to dry. Don't just leave it in water, because the bottom sitting in water will dissolve and it wastes the soap. If the soap is used without sitting in water, it lasts quite a long time. It's a very hard bar of soap, which is why I love this soap. And it suds up much better when you start using it when it's sort of drier and not soggy and wet. This is fantastic stuff. Pains me a little bit to get rid of it. So that's the soap there. And the other major thing that is being sold in tomorrow's online sale are my watercolor studies. And my watercolor studies arrive like this. They are wrapped in tissue. They are wrapped. I wrapped them individually. And this practice has been something that I have been doing for the last 3-4 years maybe. And painting these watercolors is to learn how to paint. That is the result of that learning and that practicing are these studies. So here is my favorite study from the group of watercolors in tomorrow's sale. In tomorrow's sale, there are also watercolor studies that I did that are copies of old paintings. I did a copy of a John Singer Sargent painting of a woman holding a rose that hangs at the Met that I've often looked at in person. I did a study of Renoir painting to study shadows, specifically chromatic shadows. You know, when we look at a shadow, we might think the shadow is just gray or brown, but in actual fact, there is so much color in shadows. And in that painting by Renoir, which was done in oil, it's the perfect example of shadows full of different colors. That is very tricky to paint, especially in watercolor. So that is a study of chromatic shadows, and all of that copying of the great masters. The reason why this is a traditional way of learning, copying old masters' paintings, is because it informs the process, and you really, by copying, learn techniques, which is genuinely what's happening. So I do those copies, and then when I go back to a subject that I've been painting regularly, bananas that are progressively ripening, that just kind of become a thing, I apply what I've learned from those copies to something like this. And this is a very different painting than the John Singer Sargent portrait of the lady, but there are elements that are the same. In that John Singer Sargent painting of Louise, there's a part of that painting where her dress is starting to go into the deepest shadow, and the beauty, this is one of Sargent's trademarks, is where there's no discerning line between the person and the deepest shadow. So doing that with that study of the lady with the rose, painting that and understanding that was something that I applied to this banana painting, because when I was looking at the banana, there were areas where there was kind of no discerning line between the subject and the shadow. And that's the wonderful thing about taking that stuff and then applying it to painting from life. This was one of those magical moments where everything just kind of falls into place, where I'm not overthinking. I just do it. I'm careful, but I'm not overly fussy. I'm letting the watercolor be loose. In places like this, that yellow bled a little too much, and I just left it alone. And that's, to me, the beauty of this medium, is the parts of it that you can't fully control or don't fully control. This is how Sargent used watercolor. And this is how, and that's what inspired me to start learning how to paint watercolors. So I would say that this banana is very Sargent inspired. And it really is my favorite piece from this bunch. So this is how it was painted. I suggest, if someone purchases it, that it be hung this way. This way is more compelling, and I actually don't mind the signature and the date on the side. So these are some of the things that are in tomorrow's sale. There are other things, but you might go online and you might see this stuff, and I do have descriptions for everything, but it's always easier and better, I think, for me to actually talk to you about the motivation behind creating this stuff. With these flower pots, there are parts of this process that are right and wrong.
And wrong is wrong and right is right. And you're playing it as right and wrong are the same.
And when I when I make a pot and when I observe these subtle details, there are these moments while the clay is still wet where it's up to me to decide, do I keep that pot because it's good enough, or do I scrap it and throw this pot again to try to make it better? And I have to say that the pots that I'm including in these sales are the pots that have crossed the boundary of being okay to actually being good. I'm selling the stuff that I am actually really proud of. And the other stuff just doesn't make it into the sale. What's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. So thank you all who participate in the sale and help me keep all of this going. And to those of you who are just watching, I hope you found some of this stuff interesting / inspiring. Thank you.